Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Triangulation is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Triangulation, episode 190, recorded Monday, March 2nd, 2015. Becky Worley. Triangulation is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you get award-winning financial tools, unbiased advice, and a transparent view of all your investments. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/triangulation. And by NatureBox. NatureBox ships great tasting snacks right to your door. Start snacking smarter with wholesome, delicious treats like dark chocolate pretzel pops. Give me some now. Get your complimentary NatureBox sampler. Visit naturebox.com/twit. That's naturebox.com/twit. And by Hipchat. Collaborate, save time, and be more productive with your teams. Hipchat is IM, video chat, plus file, code, and screen sharing, all in one place. Invite your team members and get a free 30-day trial of the full version of Hipchat at hipchat.com/triangulation. It's time for Triangulation, the show where we get some of the most interesting people in technology in here, and we get to spend some time and really get to know them. And boy, I am so thrilled. And this was actually Lisa's idea to get Becky Worley here. One of my oldest, dearest friends. I was just thinking, I've known you for 17 years.
I know.
17 years. We started working together in '98 at TechTV.
And we've never even had a fight. Do you know that?
Oh, God, no. We've never fought. Because I'm scared of you.
Oh, ditto.
You'd kick my behind. Becky, you may know from Good Morning America, where she does crazy things like jumps in a vat of minus 200-degree stuff.
Yes, that was
That's what you're doing now.
Yes, it was cool to negative 254 degrees. We will discuss. That's called a tease in the business.
That's something she's doing now. But going way back, and let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start.
The musical.
Leo and Becky. The musical. We were talking about Hawaii.
Yeah.
You grew up in Hawaii.
I did. I grew up on Maui.
You don't look Hawaiian.
There's a shock there. No. But, hey, Leo, you want to talk to me then? I'm going to talk to you.
Oh, bro.
Because, bro, I'm not putting up with your Holly ways. I'm not just some malahini you pulling off the street.
I am a pure, but it's so fun. It's so fun when she invokes the Hawaiian. How did your family get there?
It's cool because my parents are from upstate New York, and my dad worked for Smith Corona typewriters. And he was a quality control engineer. And they sent him to a plant in Toronto, and they sent him to another plant in New York. And then they said, we're going to send you to a plant in Singapore. And
wow.
So my dad was working in Singapore for Smith Corona typewriters in 1977. And there was a faction in the company where one side thought that they should go the way of personal computing and word processing.
Yeah.
The other side of the company said there will never be a day when every office in America is without a typewriter, and those typewriters are going to be Smith Coronas.
Could they be more wrong, huh?
And my dad was on the word processing side, and that entire faction got ousted. And they were going to send my dad to Glasgow.
That's exile. Nothing wrong with Glasgow. We love Scotland. I'm Scot. But cold, wet, damp.
And then his old boss was living in Hawaii, had started a real estate company, and he had made an offer to my dad. And so my parents were going, Glasgow, Maui. Glasgow, Maui. So we ended up there in 1978, and so I grew up most of my childhood there. And it's an amazing place to grow up. And
it was kind of backwater then, though, right?
Oh, my gosh. We had Suda store and a Zeka store, and that was it in terms of grocery stores in Kihei. When it would rain, the water would come down the volcano, and it would flood out the sugarcane fields, and you couldn't get across the island to the airport unless you had a diesel, because then you could just plow through and your spark plugs didn't get wet. Or a boat. Right?
Right.
And that's why we have all these trucks on Maui with the big wheels, you know, because people actually used them back then.
They had to get through the water.
Yeah, and it was, you know, it was kind of the Wild West in a lot of ways. But it was a great place to grow up, incredibly multicultural, and a real harbinger of, I think, what the mainland has become in subsequent decades, where minorities are the norm and the minorities make up the majority. Right. You also have, you know, a really interesting value structure around family and around fun. And those two things have been such great guiding principles, especially fun. Do you know how much we stink at having fun as grown-ups anymore? I mean, when I go to New York and I'm working with my work people there, they don't have this unstructured play idea. And I think people are forgetting how to do that, you know?
That I had never thought about, but maybe you always have been fun. And in fact, I think in some ways you were the spirit of TechTV. You were bringing the fun to TechTV because it was a really fun place to work. And I don't know if I ever gave you credit or anybody ever gave you credit, but I think you very much informed that.
There were a lot. I appreciate that, and I'd like to think that we all contributed. I think fun is collaborative.
Well, once you set the tone, everybody was into it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
As soon as you give them permission, let's have fun.
Right, and fun, and when you have people who are spontaneous and don't need everything locked down, that's why sometimes we would plan things for a call for help where we didn't tell you about it, just because
they still do that.
You got to serve some balls up and let somebody hit it out of the park.
Thank you.
You know, and that's fun is not something that can be driven by one person. It is totally collaborative in that everybody has to put something in and make something that's bigger than some of the parts. So, yeah, no, being from Hawaii is great because you know, my auntie got laid off and she's like, oh yeah, I no more job, but that's why we pay into all the government money, because then when that happens, if can, if no can, no can. Let's go to the beach, gang. I just love that.
That's a great spirit.
You know, okay.
That's a great spirit.
You know.
But did you decide to go to college on the mainland? What took you off?
I think, you know, we were talking about The Descendants earlier, and there is
By the way, you said good example of Hawaiian culture.
Oh.
I loved that movie.
Isn't it amazing?
As I'm watching, I'm thinking, I should ask Becky, is this real? Because it felt real.
Oh my gosh.
George Clooney, they're living in Hawaii, but it's normal life.
It is normal. You got to go to work. You got to go to school. The pressures of life are real.
It's paradise, but it's normal.
Yeah. And the cost of living there is so high that actually you have more monetary pressures, but you also have higher highs in that you go to the beach every weekend if you want to.
There's a culture there that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think that that is real, and it becomes insular. I never got rock fever in a geographic sense, but in the sense that you are the sum of generations of people before you, and when you're a Malahini who's from the mainland and you're a first generation, you got to go prove it, and you got to make it for yourself. And it's very difficult to break ranks there. It's people who move to Hawaii have a very high attrition rate to leave shortly thereafter, because it's very difficult to break in socially, at least it was historically.
Interesting.
So I think that movie was real. It was good for me to go to the mainland. I have workaholic tendencies, and so that doesn't completely jibe with living in Hawaii.
Right.
I always had aspirations of working in TV. That doesn't really jibe with being in Hawaii.
So you wanted to be in TV as a kid?
I wanted a fishing show.
Fishing show. I love it. Like what? Like the bass fishing? Bass fishing?
We had a show every 5 o'clock on Sunday called Let's Go Fishing with Harry Kojima. It was the best show on television.
That's what you wanted to do?
That's what I wanted to do. And so I really wanted a fishing show.
Wow.
And so I went to college and I got an American literature degree.
Perfect.
That's what you got to do.
Well, where'd you go to college?
Vermont, Middlebury.
Middlebury, great school.
Yeah, loved it.
Great school.
Really awesome.
A little chilly.
That
must have been hard.
I started in February. I got on the plane in Kahului. It was 85 degrees. I got off the plane in Burlington. It was negative 15. It was a real culture shock. But, you know, fabulous. And
you were obviously smart. That's a hard college to get into. Very selective. Great program. Famous for their language programs, but great program.
I took Japanese.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's good. Then that kind of tied in with Hawaii,
right?
Oh
yeah, I could waitress at the Japanese hotels every summer. And
you still speak Japanese?
My restaurant Japanese is outstanding. I would walk up to a Japanese businessman at the Prince Hotel. He would have his newspaper like this. I would say, "Ohayou gozaimasu. Kohi wo orange juice wa? Would you like coffee or orange juice?" And the man would go, mo kohi wa. And then he would look at me.
He'd say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." So you sound like a native.
When I graduated from Middlebury, I got recruited by the CIA and by an escort service in Kyoto.
And which job did you take?
Either. Both morally interesting. And I had one other problem. My Japanese professor, he called me in after about 2 years. He said, "Worley-san, you have a very good pronunciation, but you have a very big problem." I said, "Oh, what's that, sensei?" He said, "Well, You talk like a man. So we worked on it for about half an hour.
You're not deferential enough?
Finally, I couldn't figure it out. And finally he said, when you think of a Japanese woman, what do you think of? And I said, Hello Kitty. He said, talk like a Hello Kitty. So, oh, sensei. Oh, okay, desu ka, sensei. Oh, onegaishimasu. She said, that's it. Worley-san, you got it, Worley-san. So
I see you talking like that a whole lot.
No, I talk like a man.
Yeah.
So the escort service was out.
Yeah.
And who? CIA?
CIA,
I
no.
don't know.
Did you pursue TV and broadcasting at that point?
I did. I moved to Seattle and I got a job as basically a janitor at a health club while I worked for free at the ABC station there.
So you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I knew that I had to. I knew I wanted to be in TV. I always knew.
Where had you? So we hired you in '98, probably, right? At TechTV.
Yeah.
Where were you working before that?
I had been working in Seattle, and then I went to Honolulu. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to live in Hawaii as a grown-up, and so I moved to Honolulu and was kind of, I don't know, floundering. And then I saw TechTV was starting and said, oh, I got to go do that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So,
neat.
And I think local TV was just brutal, and it had just chewed me up and spat me out, and I couldn't. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do it. And it's just, it eats your soul. Some of the stuff you have to do is so awful. You have to call grieving mothers at 3 in the morning and try and get a soundbite, and I just don't have that. That's not me. And so when I thought, gee, I could do TV about something that I'm really interested in. Sure.
And you're about fun.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I want to have fun.
You want to have fun.
I know.
That's not fun.
No, it was not fun. And TechTV was...
Fun.
It was so much fun.
It was the toy store.
Oh, it was like grad school for us kids.
Yeah.
We got paid.
Well, amazing. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about rugby.
Oh, yeah. You know.
Because this whole time you're playing rugby.
Oh, yeah.
Kicking butt. But first, a word from Personal Capital, which you said you use.
I am a Personal Capital user.
I'm so glad to hear that. Ed Harris, I've done it again. I called Bill Harris Ed Harris. In fact, I said to Bill when I had dinner with him the other day, he said, you know, I keep calling you Ed Harris. He said, that's okay. I don't mind that. Bill Harris, who founded it, was one of the, we call him the PayPal Mafia, was one of the original founders with Elon Musk of PayPal.
Right, Peter Thiel.
He and Elon founded PayPal and later acquired the company that Peter was at. So they were the two originals. In fact, we're going to get Bill back because I didn't even know this when I interviewed him on Triangulation. I want to get the Elon Musk stories. He told us a few. He then was a CEO at not only PayPal but Intuit. Knows a lot about money, knows a lot about finance. Decided to found Personal Capital about 3 years ago, and we didn't even talk about it in the interview. As he's leaving, he mentions this. I said, well, I'll sign up. That sounds interesting. Man, is this great. So here's the idea. You know, your money's all over the place. Everybody's money's all over the place. You got investments, credit cards, bank accounts, mortgages. It's all on different websites with different passwords. Very hard to keep track of. Personal Capital starts by putting it all in one place. You get a great dashboard on your computer, on your mobile device. They even have an Android Wear app. So you see where your money is. Now, it's focused on your investments. And I think that's really important because, you know, the investments are about planning for a rainy day and retirement. And it's really important that you not be wasting that money.
And have you ever tried to read the things that your brokers will send you? It's impossible.
You get a prospectus in the mail. It's like, thank you for 800 pages of nothing. A lot of investors also charge very high fees, and there are all sorts of hidden costs. Their brokers might be charging you commissions. Mutual funds and 401ks often have lots of load, they call them. These costs add up and could steal years from your retirement. Personal Capital is free to use. It's secure. Already more than 700,000 investors like me and Becky are using it to identify and eliminate high fees, to manage and grow our wealth, to budget, to plan. It's your money. You got to pay a little attention. The nice thing is Personal Capital doesn't require a lot of time. It's time to trade up. Your broker could be taking money out of your pocket with hidden fees, no transparency. They win, you lose. Not with Personal Capital.
They also have some analysis tools to determine if you're too aggressive or you're not aggressive enough. I really like that.
You get those great award-winning tools. You can get unbiased advice if you wish and a transparent view of your investments. A complete intuitive financial dashboard. Now, if you would like to get some planning advice, you can. You don't have to, but you can talk to an advisor at Personal Capital, discuss your financial goals, your risk tolerance, as you said, Becky. You may be riskier than you want or less risky than you should be. Your horizon, the time horizon. All you have to do is track your accounts worth $100,000 or more on a personal capital dashboard, and you'll qualify for that 30-minute review. You also get tailored advice on optimizing your investments. So why wait? Take control of your financial future. Personal Capital gives you total clarity and transparency to make better investment decisions right away. Get a free no-obligation portfolio consultation when you link. You don't have to put $100,000 into their account. You can, but this is merely for linking $100,000 or more in assets on the Personal Capital dashboard. You know what's cool? You probably have that. You probably say, me, I don't have that. You probably have more than you think. But when you see it all in one place, you go, oh, I guess I do. It's easy to do. The results can benefit you forever. I'm so sincere. I tell my kids this: the younger you start, the better. It's easy. If you start young, you'll be doing great. As soon as you link your accounts with $100,000 or more in assets, Personal Capital will contact you. You get a free 30-minute consultation on your portfolio. Set up that account. It's free. personalcapital.com/triangulation.
It's like a Fitbit for your money.
That's exactly what it is.
Because it gamifies saving.
I love that. Yeah. It's got.
I like that.
You know, we're this generation. And I'm part of it. We like fun, right? Make it fun.
Right.
I'll do it. If you make it fun, I don't want to. If it's a chore, I'll put it off.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
So you came to San Francisco. This new startup, TechTV. Ziff Davis was the big computer publishing company, was putting it together.
Is this what we're supposed to be talking about? I mean, this is all about me.
I want to talk about rugby.
I want to make sure that this isn't all about me. Like, we can just hang out.
We were hanging out before. This is work. This is no more fun, Worley. When did you play rugby in college? Did you play rugby before college?
I played rugby. I played soccer in college, and I played 4 sports during high school. I played soccer during college, and then I picked up rugby in college because it was a great way to rebel against your parents. Get muddy and break some bones.
You told me once you don't want to see me if I don't play rugby. You said if I don't get to beat up somebody once in a while, you do not want to be around me. Is that true?
I love the physicality. I do.
Yeah.
I love sports. I mean, I find it to be a huge balancing thing. You know, women talk about balancing now, and I have this perspective as a mom and, as a working mom. But really, when I look back, I don't find balance by doing less and meditating. I find balance by doing more at all ends of the extreme.
Interesting.
I want my teeter-totter to be like this all the time, not. So, for me to be able to go hard, I mean, when we worked at TechTV, it was crazy hours. We were doing just extreme amounts of work because we were all
really?
kids.
Because I just kind of came in and showed up, did the show, and left.
Are you kidding me? You were hosting 2 shows. You were commuting from Petaluma.
You guys had done all the work, so I just showed up.
No way. Oh, my God. I don't know how you knew all the things you knew, and you researched the questions, and we couldn't put that stuff in your brain.
People thought that you were.
Oh, my God.
Because I had an earpiece, and I constantly got emails or even people just speculating. It's a good thing Twitter wasn't around then, because it would have been nothing but. First of all, they thought my hair was fake, and then the second thing is they thought that there were people telling me in my ear what to say. And you were in my ear telling me what to do, but you were telling me.
That was timing. That was, we're coming up to a break in 30 seconds. Up next is, Jason Snell. And
you were hired to do what at first?
I was hired to produce Call for Help. I think I was an associate producer or producer.
You weren't like the big shot there?
No, remember Renee.
Renee Oricchio.
Renee was the big shot.
Okay.
And then Anna got sick. And
right. So Anna was set to do screensavers.
Yeah.
You as whatever line producer. And you were set to be the line producer. The line producer, for those, we don't have line producers here.
Well,
the line,
we
have one guy does,
everything,
including
like
sweep up after.
Technician,
Yeah. The line producer is the person who has the rundown, the clip sheet with everything that's going to happen, where the commercials go and stuff. Sits in the control room behind the director and technical director and yells.
Right.
And says no, and then you are the only person who could press the button and say, Leo, shut up. In fact, it was hard to get me to go to break, wasn't it? Because it would escalate. Okay, we're done. Move on.
Rapping. Give him a hard rap. Give him a hard rap. No, harder rap.
You're telling the floor director, Steve Porter. So this is so crazy. Television has such a lot of people working.
So many
There's
layers.
a guy. So you have 3 camera operators, maybe 4 if it jibs in there, and maybe 5 if you got a handheld. And then you've got a guy who's standing there, and his only job is to go.
Point to the camera. Yeah.
Or 5, 4. Or
Yeah, hard rap. Oh my God. When I go to GMA in New York, the floor director is my best friend, Eddie. I just always got to go find Eddie because there are 7 cameras. I don't know which one I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I don't have an IFB usually because I'm a guest. And so that guy's a lifeline. But yeah, so I was supposed to.
When you do live with Regis and Kelly, which I did for more than a decade.
Oh my gosh.
Gelman's that guy.
Right.
You do have a guy who's pointing, but Gelman's like got a whiteboard and he'll go like 10 seconds. And he'll start tapping it really hard right out of the line of the camera.
Right. And you're like, can't they hear that on TV? Oh, it's so disconcerting.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, doing TV is crazy.
So you were going to be the line producer for Call for Help.
Right.
Anna was going to be the line producer for Screensavers. And there was a lot of planning, and believe it or not, we rehearsed those shows for months.
Oh, months. While we were building the sets. Remember how much stress that was? And doing the lighting and then, and you were hosting both shows, which was insane, with Kate Patello.
Kate Patello was at the Screensavers, and I was alone on Call for Help.
Right.
And I wore sweaters like this.
You
I
wore
wore
sweaters.
this for you.
Yes.
Because I think they wanted it. They thought maybe the viewers would not know that I'm the same person.
Right.
So I wore Hawaiian shirts on the Screensavers, and then I put on V-neck sweaters.
You were Mr. Rogers for Call for Help, and you were Tom Selleck.
Right.
For,
well, that's very kind of you. So, so you were the person in my ear on Call for Help, and then Anna got sick.
Right.
And couldn't do Screensavers.
Right.
It was like 3 weeks before the launch, right?
Yeah, it was crazy.
So they made you do that, or
Right.
did you volunteer?
Oh, I volunteered.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was crazy. I wanted to do
I
it.
already loved you, and I thought we worked very well together.
Yeah.
I just really loved working with you, and so it was a great relief to know that if Anna couldn't do it, that Becky Worley would be there to do it. And we did have fun, but I guess it was hard work.
It was just a lot of details, and we were children. I mean, we were really
You were children. I was not children.
You were, but you were one of the only.
45, I think, something like that.
Yeah, but you were one of the only
43.
grown-ups, and we had a lot of kids there. And if you look at the diaspora of tech TV since that's happened, and you see where everyone's
Marvelous,
gone,
isn't it?
It's really incredible to see the heights that people have reached, and how that was such a fabulous training ground. And as I said, it was like going to J school and getting paid for it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that was really a phenomenal experience.
And as you know now, and I knew at the time, we were getting immense freedom. I mean, it was very unusual to have that kind of freedom.
Oh my gosh, it was a total free-for-all. And I mean, I think nobody was paying attention. Greg Drebin, who was our executive producer, I was bemoaning to him that the Oxygen channel launched by Oprah had gotten such big press and everyone was paying attention to it, and we hadn't gotten any. And he said that's the greatest thing you could ever ask for.
He knew.
Is that we
He'd
can
come
grow.
from MTV. He knew.
Oh, he was so smart. Man, he knew.
Love Greg Drebin.
Yeah, so I mean, that was really a huge benefit. And I think Paul Allen didn't even really pay attention. Remember when he came to visit and all he wanted to find out was how we wired the computers so that we could see them on TV? That was all he cared about. It was bizarre.
So we were started by Ziff Davis with I don't know if there was a minority investment by Paul Allen originally, but quickly he put some money in, and by 2001 he bought us out. He owned all of TechTV. In fact, it was ZDTV for a couple of years, and then they rebranded to TechTV because everybody thought it was the pasta channel. With
ZD.
ZDTV, hey.
That's funny.
Lisa still says the same thing. She said, I call up, I say I'm from Twit, and they go, who? What? It was the same problem. I call up, I'm ZDTV, what, the pasta? What is that? So TechTV made a little bit more sense.
Yes.
Were you there all from 98 to 2004?
I left in 2004. It really worked out great that Paul Allen's company that Vulcan took over, because Vulcan had a policy where you could get up to 12 college credits a year and they would pay for them. And so I started got my grad degree while I was there, and he paid for the whole thing.
You went to Stanford.
That was a miracle. They let me in.
You got a degree in education?
Education and computer science. It was through the School of Education in collaboration with the computer science department. It was called Learning, Design, and Technology. Wow. And
so
it was
even
great.
while you're working at TechTV, you're also taking 12 units at Stanford.
Yeah, and this was so nuts. So
and then playing rugby on the weekend.
I know. I was playing rugby for the U.S. I was getting
for the U. By the way, she just glossed it. For the U.S., not it was the national team.
That was crazy. That was crazy days. But so that I could take some of my classes.
This is before you had children.
This is way before I had kids. That prepared me well for that chaos. So before there was online learning, what they did is they installed a microwave dish on the top of where Zynga is now, was 850 Townsend.
Yep.
And they were beaming my classes from Stanford, relaying it at the microwave relay point at Sutro Tower, and then beaming it over to 850 Townsend.
You were watching it
and so
in the office?
I could watch it in the office.
I didn't know that.
So that I only had to take the train down to Stanford twice a week.
Wow.
It was nuts. And then they had their first online class. When my last quarter that I was in school, they had their first online class that I could take.
Wow.
But that was, and then I went down there, you know, and I did a bunch of stuff.
So you got a master's.
Yeah.
Did you write a thesis?
I did not write a thesis. Part of my master's was doing one of the books that we did for, remember we did that series of books, the TechTV books, and I wrote one. And that was in part.
That's right.
It was about
that was for your
security,
master's,
and it was in part about that. I was trying to think about.
That was for for Pearson.
Yeah. So that happened, and then Paul Allen lost us in a card game, and that was that.
He wanted to put another submarine in his boat.
Right.
He said, you know, this TechTV thing is never going anywhere.
So crazy.
And but you left when that happened.
Yeah, when they moved down to LA.
Yeah.
So
did I. We all left.
But then you went to Canada, right? And did the Canada TechTV.
Yeah. So I saw the writing on the wall in January of 2004. We kind of we knew, because there were people, like Japanese people, going through the building.
Oh, so weird.
Oh, look at that. Oh, what? And we knew, yeah, something's up. They're selling us. Right. So we knew towards the end of 2003 that the thing was for sale. In January 2004, my old boss at KGO Radio called and said, hey, I have an opening here in KFI for a tech guy. Our tech guy's leaving. Would you like to do it? And I thought, you know, it'd be good to have a backup.
Smart.
So I took it, even though I was now working 7 days a week. I was doing Saturday, Sunday, and then call for help in the screensavers Monday through Friday. So I bowed out of, at the time, I think I bowed out of the screensavers. Or I said, I want to get out of the screensavers. It's a long time ago, and I have a dim memory. We had a contract dispute, because as the sale approached, Paul Allen wanted everybody to sign, to say, because they gave us shares of stock. And Paul Allen wanted to be made whole before anybody would get any money and was afraid we would sue. So he had us sign a thing saying, oh, no, you can have my stock. I don't really mind. And I said, no, I'm not going to sign that. And they said, well, we're not going to renew your contract. This was in April of 2004.
Right.
So briefly, I was out of work for like four weeks. I was on the beach. And you were doing call for help in the screensavers without me. And then finally I relented. I said, all right, I'll sign it. Actually, what I had done in the intervening weeks is, with some of the other hosts who were still working there surreptitiously, we contacted lawyers. We said, you know, what is there going to be, if we didn't give up the rights, would we have any merit to this? They said, no, the way it's structured, Paul Allen has to be made whole. You're never going to see anything on these shares.
C-class.
C-class. Nice. So then I said, all right, fine, I'll sign it. What the hell? And then I worked for a couple more months, and then I was out of the screensavers because I couldn't do 7 days a week. And then they called me in and they said, oh, and by the way, G4 had acquired us. The new program director there, I can try to remember his name so I can give him credit, called me in and said, yeah, we're not going to take you down. And we're not going to take Patrick down. In fact, we're going to take basically it was very obvious, we're going to take the young kids down. We're going to take Sarah, Kevin, anybody under 30 can go. Not you, Laporte. But he was very kind. Vinny Longobardo. Oh. Hi, Vinny. He was actually, I think Vinny felt bad about it. It was really the big guy.
Chuck
Hirschhorn, who was later fired for running the channel into the ground. It was his idea. He invented G4.
It's the meanest thing I ever said publicly.
What?
I said Charles Hirschhorn has the leadership abilities of a clam.
I remember that. Remember that well.
I never said anything
Bravo,
so mean
Becky.
publicly.
We were all going, yeah. And so Vinny, I think, felt bad, but he had to do this. So he said, but we've received a contact from Canada. You know, we franchise out our content to Canada, to G4 Canada, or actually it was TechTV Canada. And they said Call for Help's their most popular show, and they might, if they could somehow figure out how to make it Canadian content, they would like you to do it. So I was the one American would fly up once a month to do 15 shows in 4 days.
Toronto or Vancouver? I can't remember.
First Toronto.
Right.
And then everybody else had to be Canadian, so it could be a Canadian content, because they had you have to do that in Canada. And yeah, I flew up on a Monday, I would get there and we would do 15 shows in 4 days, and I'd fly home that night.
You must have
Friday
been
night.
wrecked. Wow.
It was pretty exhausting, but it was like a full-time job, 4 days, working 5 days a week, a month.
That's an upside.
And then I was working the weekends for radio, so I had all this free time, and that's when this foolishly, I should have just said, I'm gonna relax, play rugby with Becky. When did you stop? First of all, how many surgeries on your knees have you had?
I've had 6 knee surgeries. I think I'm headed for my 7th. Broke my nose 3 times in 1 year.
You're gorgeous. You do not look like you've had a broken nose.
Oh, I got it fixed. And I got it really fixed.
No, it looks good.
Thanks.
They did a nice job.
Yes, I really appreciate that. That was when I realized.
You never looked like a boxer.
I had at one period of time I had the hook. I had the hook because I'd also broken my cheek. That was not good. And then I remember I went to Scotland and we were on a tour there, and I did both my shoulders in the same tour. So I quit when I was 34, and I'm back. I'm coaching. I'm coaching
good.
my son's team.
Oh, that's great. How old is he?
He's 7, so I have 29, 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds.
Oh, that must be fun. A scrum must be something to see.
Oh my gosh,
They
they play touch. They just play touch right now, so it's really fun to see it all go from.
What position did you play?
I played fly half, and which is you kind of have 2 quarterbacks in rugby, and so I had to play one of those positions, and it's just, I mean, I think back about playing sports, and I have 2 thoughts. One, gosh, if I hadn't been playing rugby, I would have been networking, and I would have been furthering my career. And then I think, you know what? That's a short game. That's a sprinter's game to get more from me. And I think about what you learn through sports, which is you learn the long game. You learn about that relationships are what make things win. And, I've never had an agent in my life. Every job I've gotten has been a referral from someone I've worked with previously. And I think that's kind of a direct corollary to sports, because so many people in this business don't understand real collaboration and team, and that it is a team sport. And you see the absolute debacles in the talent business. I think we've seen quite a few this year, and you understand how messed up it is for the people in business who just play singles tennis. And I think when you learn to play a team sport, I think it's really helped me in the long run. And especially as a woman, like I look at the GMA set, Robin, Sarah Haynes, Lara Spencer, all of us are athletes. And there's none of that catty tear-down thing that happens. And I really attribute that to sports. And I think that's one of the things we're going to see as we see generations of women that are aging through sports, that we're going to see a little bit less of that stereotypical, competitiveness against other people that sometimes I think belies someone who doesn't understand that the team moves forward together.
That's really interesting. It's also lucky you grew up in Maui, not New York City, because I think you also had that kind of attitude from that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's weird, though. I mean, I was, before the show, I was saying, I'm just having my, 13th career, crisis. And I think part of it is, it's really weird to be...
By the way, we should be clear. This is an internal crisis. This is not coming from the outside in.
What am I going to be when I grow up?
Yeah, it's more like that, yeah.
But I think people who are... It's not that I'm not aspirational. Someone once accused me of not being ambitious.
Oh, you're ambitious.
And I'm not, but I don't know how to do that, always looking for the next thing.
Yeah, you're not clawingly ambitious.
I'm looking at what I'm trying to do what I'm doing now and figure that'll push you forward. And I still feel naive in this sometimes, that I don't always have confidence in that it will be enough to move you into your next thing, even when you don't know what your next thing is.
I know that feeling. We'll talk about that. Yeah,
but you're hungry.
Well, I think you deserve a snack for that.
I do?
Don't you think she deserves a snack for that? She did such a good job. Would you like fancy dried figs?
Ooh.
Are you a sweet, savory, or spicy type?
Oh, my snacks are of the nut variety.
Jalapeno cashews?
Oh, heck yeah.
Wait a minute, there's more.
But
wait. Sweet blueberry almonds?
Ooh, that's...
See, you could go savory, sweet, cherry, vanilla granola. We'll save that for the kids.
Oh my gosh, that sounds great.
Oh, but I bet given your roots in Polynesia, you'd like garlic plantains.
Oh, my stars. Is that sweet or savory?
I don't know where that lies in the,
the pantheon
of
senses?
snacks. These are all NatureBox snacks. Nutritious approved, never any artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, no trans fats. This is the better alternative to the snack machine down the hall. We get box after box at the business, but I want to set you up with a free box. Not you, Becky. You can get whatever you want. I'm talking to people at home. If you go to naturebox.com/twit, we will send you their top 5 most popular snacks. $2 shipping and handling, that's all. Give you a taste of what NatureBox has to offer, because then you'll love it so much. We know you're going to order a box. You can get delivered every month to your door, full of delicious fresh snacks. There are literally hundreds, and there's, it's so funny. Sarah and I were doing a little, we were in the back snacking. She said, "Is this new? Strawberry yogurt pretzels, is that new?" Yes, they always have new. That's what's great about them. NatureBox. Life is hectic, you're busy. I don't think snacking is bad if you're eating the right kinds of snacks. These pineapple rings are so good. And there's no sulfur, there's nothing, there's no, you look at it, you say, this is too sweet. No sugar, just pineapple.
Natural. It has all the fiber that goes with it, so you can handle it.
Good.
I did a story on these boxes, and one of the great things about them is they show up at the door, and it feels like someone sent you a present.
It's a gift.
It feels like someone sent you a present, because you kind of forgot you subscribed.
Yeah.
You're like, what's this? Oh my gosh, so great.
You get a gift in the mail every month, and it's good for you. Orange, apple, fruit chews. Kids would love those.
Oh, yeah.
Antioxidant boost. It's a mix of this is kind of a gorp. Roasted nuts, dried fruit, and dark chocolate. Oh, baby. You're going to snack. Get smart about it with NatureBox. Get your free sampler right now, naturebox.com.
Da-na-na.
/twit.
Don't forget the
/twit. You're helping me with these ads. This is great.
Oh, yeah. I'm here for the team.
By the way, love your dad. Last time you were here, you brought Dad.
I bring him a lot. It's sort of bring your dad to work day whenever he comes to visit.
He's the greatest.
He's so sweet, and he loves this kind of stuff, and he really is always interested. He listens to you. We get the tech guy on Maui, and so all my aunties and uncles, they're like, "Oh, are you going to go do Leo's show?"
Oh,
and so
you got to come on the tech guy sometime.
I know.
You could be on anytime. Just phone in and say, do something. You want to be on? You can.
All right, I'm going to call you.
You could be a regular.
I'm going to call you with my reports from the cryo chamber.
Well, wait a minute. Let's do something that would be new and something is there fishing? You want to do the fishing report on the tech guy?
There's going to be new technology there all the time.
I don't even care if it's technology. Just come on and do fishing.
That's awesome.
This is the power of the tech guy.
Radio, you think about click and clack and how beloved they are.
Yeah.
And you got to, at some point, you've just mastered this thing that it's about the subject, but it's about the people, right? You've kind of totally owned that.
Yeah, I'm reluctant to give up too much of the tech stuff because I feel like I'm not sure I could just do it on personality alone. So I've always, and I think this is an important part of what we did on Tech TV and what we do here, is really understand that it's not about us. It's about the value we deliver to the audience and the content and the information. And a love for technology, which you share, and a real desire to make technology useful for people. And to also, this is what Call for Help was kind of about, to sympathize. Our motto was, it's not your fault, right? To say, yeah, you know what? On the ads, it all looks like everybody's having fun and happy. No. We know this stuff doesn't work half the time. It's annoying. It's frustrating. And so just having somebody there being honest about that, and that was one of the things that was unique. Before Tech TV, technology was always wonderful.
Right.
Once we started doing, especially the screensavers, we understood. We said, look, if it crashes, it's normal. We're not going to edit that out.
Right. Well, that was such a huge freedom, I think, that you gave us all the ability to make mistakes on air and be human.
But that's fun. That's why we wanted to do it live, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, I think it had only positives, except for the few times I opened up a porn site once, I think.
Oh, that happened. Remember we had Justin on, the proto-blogger?
Oh, yeah.
He did, and then we went to his blog and he was naked?
Yeah, naked guy. Yeah, that was a problem.
And it's live TV. You can't bloop it.
Undo that.
You edit it for subsequent replay, but
yes.
we didn't get in trouble for that. We could have, but we didn't. Yeah. It was a wardrobe malfunction of a kind.
Yeah.
What was do you have any bad memories of TV?
Well, I think, for me, I was learning how to be on TV. And so...
Oh, you're so good, though.
No, oh, my God, I stunk. And so to start with, it was so hard to... Okay, so here's the classic story is I'm filling in for you on Call for Help. Paul Block is the executive producer. And I'm so nervous. I'm having a really hard time finding what is it to be myself? What does it mean to talk to the camera?
Yeah.
How do I be normal? How do I be me?
It's hard. That's the hardest thing to do.
And then Paul starts yelling out, relax, relax. And I'm thinking to myself, I've got 4 cameras pointed at me. I'm standing here talking to myself. There are 20 people in a room listening to me, and I don't know who's out in the ether watching and listening. What's normal about that? How do you relax? And it actually took, going back to the whole sports thing, I would go to the flash cam in the newsroom after everybody had gone home, and I would read the prompter, and I would talk to the camera, and I'd record it, and then I'd play it back and watch myself. And I did that probably 3 nights a week for a year.
What?
Yeah, for like an hour.
Oh, you really worked hard.
And just figuring out, like, getting used to what your hair looks like on TV, figuring out what to do with your hands, figuring out...
As you can see, I don't really care what my hair looks like.
I like your grow out. I like it. It makes me want to kind of... Mon Chi-Chi, oh, so soft and cuddly.
I had no idea you were working so hard. That's the thing about it. You never show them sweat. You get the job done.
Well, I think...
And there's no one, by the way, now who is more comfortable, more personable, more relatable. I know why Good Morning America loves you. Tell us how you got the job at GMA.
Tracy Marks. So
she was one of our producers.
It was one of our producers at TechTV. She was the news producer. She was great. And she kept saying, you should use Becky Worley as an expert. She knows about computer viruses.
So she had moved to ABC?
She'd gotten a job at ABC.
Again, the diaspora, the great TechTV diaspora.
It really helped us all. And then I started as a tech expert. And then they had me on to do some gadget segments, and I became the gadget girl. And then they hired me as a contributor, so I got paid per appearance.
You must have, did you audition for them? How did you convince them?
I never did.
They just put you on the first time, just put you on?
They just put me on as a guest, like a soundbite.
Yep.
And then a live guest, explain this virus, what happened.
How'd you convince them to do the thing that no network television ever wants to do, which is from your house via Skype?
That was genius. Okay, so I started out as tech expert. Then I went to gadget girl. Then I went to try it out person, basically like infomercials.
Yeah, do stuff like the the hair removal.
Exactly, try it.
When you shocked last time you were on Twit, you shocked me with something.
The Pavlok.
The Pavlok.
I know.
And I jumped.
I know. It's so much fun to be. I basically am Dick DiBartolo, the girl version sometimes. Yeah. I get to do that
kind of stuff. It can be
crazy.
Yeah.
And then what happened is when the recession hit, I became 2 things. One, they were trying to consolidate expenses, and they tried to make all these digital journalists. But the problem is they were journalists first, and they were trying to make them digital. I was digital first with experience as a journalist, but it was much easier to become a journalist than it was to become digital.
We always have said that here. Always start with somebody who knows and loves tech.
Yep.
We can, try to make them comfortable on camera.
Right. And that's just, in a way, that's just the sport. You just got to play the game over and over and over again. You get more composure, time slows down, you can anticipate.
Experience can do that.
Yeah. But if you're intimidated by technology, you're not going to be able to handle it under pressure the way that doing broadcasting is. And so in order to save money, I said, well, let me try Skyping in. And I had been working here, so I had a great mic that I'd gotten at your advice, the Heil. And I had a Sony Z5, and I figured out how to get that into the Skype feed, which was not that, come on, an external camera, it's not a big deal.
But they were impressed.
Right. And that I could do it by myself without a shooter and having to pay for, one day I had, Charlie Gibson was interviewing me, and I had a huge satellite truck in my driveway, and I had a shooter and a producer and an audio guy. And 2 months later, when we, changed over to Skype, it was me and my computer. And they saved $10,000 for a 3-minute bit. And so once they figured out they could do that, they were so desperate to save money during those days. They were really getting squeezed. Right. And that was before morning shows were the cash cow. They were really sort of a codicil to the evening news, or that was still the perception. in New York and at Disney. And so did that for, I think I did 57 live shots from my kitchen the year that my kids were 1.
I didn't know you did that many.
Oh, yeah. It was nuts. And I also, at the same time, I kind of became online savings person because people were realizing how to use the internet to save money.
Your timing was perfect. I mean, there couldn't have been a better time.
Oh, my gosh.
And, of course, you're riding GMA, which is the #1 morning show. It is the cash cow for ABC.
Now it is, yeah. And so, you know, that was an up-and-coming process. And so, you know, the show has changed now because now they've put a lot more money into the production.
Right, but you're still doing Skype.
Well, the funny thing is that that certain things work for the kitchen, other things. I did a live shot the other day from my bathroom where I was using a TVU unit, my Sony Z5. I had a wireless mic in a Ziploc bag jammed into the back of my tank top. I had my phone in a Ziploc bag with an earpiece as my IFB, and I did all this production by myself.
Isn't that great?
And
it's amazing.
It's really incredible.
Network television, really, I mean, it's amazing that you're doing that.
And that's the thing is, like, they don't have a lot of people who have the comfort doing it under pressure.
Right.
You can do it, but doing it under pressure is a whole nother animal.
It's the people who can do what you do are so rare. I would say there's one, you.
There's a couple other people in the field. I mean,
rare.
I don't know how they do it when they're, you know, like a Martha Raddatz or someone who's overseas or someone who's a little bit more of a real. The digital journalists now are coming up more natively, and I think they're teaching it. And I'd really be interested to hear what Jeff Jarvis said about that because I don't know the market extensively.
Yeah, this is his thing now, is to reinvent journalism. Especially, he hates that we've talked about this. He hates the stand-up, and thinks that TV news is horrible and wants to make it better.
It needs to evolve.
Yeah, this is his mission.
Yeah,
He's great on that.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. Come back with more. Becky Worley. It's so interesting because I think when we were doing Tech TV for so many years, I don't know if everybody knew what a rare and wonderful thing we were involved in, that this was never going to happen again.
Yeah.
But now when we meet, we all love each other so much.
I know.
There's this incredible bond. I guess it's probably like when you play on a World Series team, and from then on, there's this thing that you have uniquely with these people.
It also ended abruptly, so we didn't have time to get dysfunctional.
We didn't get a goodbye. Yeah, we never got dysfunctional. Yeah, that's good. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's
Short marriages, always the best. Yeah. Hipchat, let's talk Hipchat. Let's change the subject. We actually are in a very fun marriage right now with a team in Austin, Texas, who's reinventing how we do the web in a very interesting way. And, of course, when you have teams distributed, we have lots of people on the team. We're in Northern California, they're in Texas, but there are people all over. It's difficult to keep the team together, keep them in sync, keep them working in real time. Email is not real time. It's asynchronous. You could use an existing chat product, but really there is a product designed exactly for this that we have fallen in love with and now have adapted to use with our sales team, our engineering team. I want to do it with hosts. It's called Hipchat. Hipchat helps you communicate. It's instant messenger plus video chat, document sharing, screen sharing, system updates, code sharing. For developers, there's nothing better. It works with 57 different services like GitHub and Jira and Zendesk. So you can completely use Hipchat as a real-time system. And by the way, it works everywhere. I have Hipchat on everything. When I go home, it's up all the time on my computer. It's on my computer at work. It's on my smartphone. They have a web-based version. They have a desktop version. It couldn't be easier. So it looks like chat. It's so much more. By the way, they get the fun thing because there's fun stuff. There's like fun emojis. There is a sense of fun using it that makes your team wildly productive and keeps you together and working. And I just love it. Get your team on the same page in seconds. There is a freemium version you can use forever, free. But for the next 30 days, we're going to get you the full premium version of Hipchat, which includes the bonus features of video and screen sharing. And you can do this free with no credit card. Just visit hipchat.com/triangulation. Click that Start Chatting button. Then invite a few team members, and you've got 30 days to try it. In fact, we want you to use this so much, we've set it up so that for the first 100 people that do this, I want to give you a little sense of urgency. For the first 100 people who do this right now, you're going to get 90 days. You're going to get 3 months free. With no credit card, no sign up, nothing. Hipchat.com/triangulation. I think you're going to think it's great. Hipchat, your team, your project in sync instantly. Becky Worley is our guest. She is so great. For 17 years, I've known, admired, and loved this person. She's currently technology contributor at Good Morning America. And then I see the things you're doing, like this cold project, and I think, only Becky. No one in the world would volunteer for this.
It was my idea.
Of course, you thought it up.
Well, I've become a much more of a consumer reporter because technology has really folded into traditional consumer reporting, and traditional consumer reporting has really gone away. It's not on TV. It doesn't work to do consumer reports. You have to do it more the way that people do product reviews.
But you're unusual because you'll actually do it.
That's my shtick. I go out and do everything, and
you can just look at it and say, "Well, this is interesting." Here we are in front of a chamber. Somebody's going to get into it. You get in.
Oh, my gosh. So there's this place called CryoLife in New York. They use nitrogen, liquid nitrogen, and they super cool a chamber. You step into it, and the
nitrogen... Are you in liquid, or...?
It's nitrogen gas is coming up. They tell you not to inhale too deeply because you might,
pass out and die. Okay.
Right?
Yep, no big deal.
It's super cool to negative 254 degrees. You wear clogs, socks, mittens, and that's it.
Why mittens?
I think that the issue
you don't want your fingers to fall off.
I know, right? It's the frostbite. So you only go in for 3 minutes. And I thought, 3 minutes, I don't care how cold it is. I'm not going to be that cold. It's going to be fine.
3 minutes is an eternity at minus 250.
Well, I didn't think about it. I was like, it's just, once it's cold, it's cold. Wrong. Okay, first of all, the air is coming up from below.
Yeah.
Okay, I have never been cold before. That was bizarre.
You don't have to explain.
They
I
make
get
you
it.
dry off before you go in so that you don't have any...
Yeah, if water would freeze on you.
Right. So, I mean, that was the first really weird part. Secondly, I thought, okay, after 3 minutes, it's going to be fine. It took me 2 hours to warm up.
So you're shivering for 2 hours?
Shivering, you have goosebumps.
But that's the point, right? Is that they're trying to... So what does this do for you?
So... The point of the story was there's all this talk about brown fat, this adipose fat tissue that supposedly, if you are exposed to cold, it stimulates brown fat eats white fat, bad fat, and then you get skinnier faster.
I did meet somebody some years ago who said that's how I lost weight. I did cold. I just stayed cold. I didn't heat the house. I wasn't like freezing like this, but I was just cold all the time.
Right, and there are people who say if you just keep your house at 55 degrees, you're going to lose weight in the winter. And I mean, it's not the newest idea, but what's happening is all these products are starting to come out. Then I tested the cold shoulder vest. You wear it for 3 hours a day. It's ice packs on your extremities, including your neck and your shoulders. That's supposed to trigger it and burn an extra 500 calories a day.
Here's the problem. How would anybody know you're not exactly fat, Becky Worley? How would you know? If you should do it to me.
Well, stop.
I'll get in the... You need somebody fat to get in the vat.
No.
Because if you're not fat...
Listen, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
The whole point was, then I went to San Francisco State and they did a breath calorimetry test on me to see if exposure to cold actually increased my calorie burn per minute. It was minimal. Yeah. But I love that stuff. I love that stuff. It's so much fun.
Well, it's great TV because it's funny.
I know.
It's comedic.
I know, but that's the thing about consumer reporting, really, is you have to pick your medium. So if you're a writer, write lots of details, do the research, go deep. If you're doing TV, people can only digest certain amounts of information, and what you're really trying to do is light up their emotions.
Right.
And if you light up their emotions, that'll pique their interest, and they'll go do the research. And so I think one of the big changes for me in the way that I do my job in the last 10 years is I've accepted that I cannot, in 90 seconds, convey enough information to really adequately express an idea and give you enough data points to go do it. But what I can do is I can show you, so 80% of what I'm trying to do is convey the visuals. I can emote and share my experience, and that's why I do so much trial, is I can share with you my emotions about the thing. And if you trust me, you will assimilate that, oh, she likes that, or oh, she does not like that, or oh, she thinks that's interesting. And if that tweaks something in your mind, you'll use that 5% of information that you got on the TV show to go do your own research and make your own behavioral changes. Right. So I kind of have accepted the limitations of my medium has been this stage of my career.
That's fair. You have to understand the medium you're in. We've always thought that we're complementary to print. Even at TechTV, we thought that. We're complementary to print because print can't show, can't create emotion, but can give you facts. So we do the stuff that they don't do, and they do the stuff that we don't do.
Right.
And then the end user gets both, gets what they need.
Yeah.
And I think we still try to do that on our review show. We're really trying to give people, I even say this, a sense of what it feels like to use this product, what it's like to be the owner of this product. That's an emotion, that's a feeling, that's not the specs, it's the experience. And TV's good at that.
It's really, video is amazing at that. And every time I look at a pitch or I think about an idea, my first question is, what will they see? And the next question is, what will they feel? And if I can't answer those two questions well, I can't do the piece.
This is why you're so good at it.
You know, and you have to do it right. But
do you want to keep doing this, or would you like to, I don't know, ever work for a podcast network?
I would love to work for a podcast network in Northern California, near the smell of chicken.
Near the smell of. How do you feel about the smell of chickens? How do you feel about that?
It makes me feel close to the earth.
Would you like to go back to Hawaii at some point and retire there?
You know, the great thing is I spend a lot of time there. I think we spend 5 or 6 weeks a year there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, my parents are still there, and we go a lot.
Yeah,
and I have really close family and friends there. So.
And the kids love it?
Oh, they're, you know.
You have two 7-year-olds?
Yeah, boy and a girl.
And how's that been for you? You like doing that?
Oh, it's the best. I mean, it's really nice because.
Do you do more of the parenting, or does Jane do more of the parenting?
She works 3 days a week and 3 long days. And so then I basically get to do all the drop-offs and pickups at school,
right?
Which is how I've built my life, and that's really the limitation of what my professional stuff.
But isn't that great?
Around.
When you can make a living that works with your life, and it's really hard with kids because kids need you when they need you. So if you can find a way to make that work, oh, that's so good.
And that's that thing that everybody's always, you know, trying to figure out, that balance issue.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I can't, you know, every time I go to New York to work, they say, why don't you live here? And I say, because if I lived here, I would live in this office. And I have a really nice gig. And, you know, there'll be a time when my kids don't need me as much, but for now.
Then what would you do? Would you move to New York, you think?
No. I think, you know.
That's for young people.
And I'll also be at a different phase of my career. You know, I would love to executive produce. I would love to help up-and-comers figure out how to manage TV.
You're really good at that. The funny thing is, because that's what you did at TechTV.
Yeah.
You're really good at that.
I love coaching.
And yet you're so good on the air that you'd be crazy not to do that for now.
I mean, the great thing is San Francisco and the Bay Area in general has become a real hub of information television in a way, with
rapidly growing.
Yeah. I mean, with Revision 3 and Discovery, with CNET, you know, with YouTube having spaces here, obviously.
Well, and you work for Yahoo.
I work for Yahoo.
What do you do there?
It's been a really interesting ride. So I've been there on and off for 8 years doing tech videos, and basically, you know, Patrick Houston and I were there as video bloggers.
Another tech TVer.
Yeah. And then we did a series for them. They cast me as the Martha Stewart of technology, which was sort of limiting and sort of
insulting.
Fun. I know. It's kind of like you have to put a label on it to figure out how to sell it.
So they understand it. Yeah.
And then when David Pogue came on, I've been a special contributor, and I go to CES, I'm going to South by, and...
So you work with Rafe Needleman and David Pogue and as part of that tech channel.
Yeah, and they're great.
And you like that? You want to keep doing that?
I love it, because it keeps, you know, I feel like, especially even keeping my chops, I'm not up here as much as I'd like, but TechTV feels like the real, Twit feels like the real core tech audience.
Yeah, we're hardcore. Yeah.
And then Yahoo Tech is the consumer tech audience.
Yeah.
And then GMA is just consumer.
Consumers.
So I have a nice breadth of opportunities and mediums, and it's ideal for me. And then I've started doing a little bit of other stuff that's kind of interesting to me, a lot of CEO interviews. And so
you'd be great at that.
It was really I did something last week with Nick Woodman from GoPro at a
Is that for Yahoo?
I did that for Ron Conway.
He's a big VC.
Yeah, and he has a founders forum that he does that's all off the record, and so none of the comments.
Oh, what fun that must be.
Everybody's talking. Will.i.am was there. He came on after us. He was hilarious and such an interesting guy. And then to talk to Nick for an hour on stage about his journey starting GoPro, I mean, that guy is incredible. And I really enjoy that because, I mean, you know, from like Alan Mullally, people fawn over CEOs. And when you're in media, like we were talking about before, you're kind of like, yeah, you put your pants on the same way every day.
Right.
I've talked to gajillion celebs. You don't own me, so let's just have a conversation.
But there's also a problem with CEOs in a public forum is they're very careful and calculated, and very rare are the CEOs who either will talk to you. Steve Jobs just wouldn't talk to you. Remember you trying to get him to talk to you?
I'm still
or
banned.
if they talk to you, let me tell that story in a second. If they talk to you, they're never going to say. They're completely crafting the message.
Right.
So to get them in a forum like the Founders Forum, where the audience is not general, but other founders, and say, look, this is off the record, that must be really interesting.
It was great. It was great. And I mean, they really, I found there was a depth of talk, especially public companies. They have such limitations on what they can and can't say, and are they foreshadowing value? And no. And I mean, it's great to be around people who are visionaries and let them just go wild. I was at Levi's a couple weeks ago and got to talk to Chip Bergh there. Awesome guy.
If they will talk.
Yeah.
If you get them on GMA, they're going to be very calculated and careful.
But what I like talking to people in those positions about is I don't want to talk to you like this is a CNBC interview. I want to talk about something that you're passionate about.
Oh, see, that's great.
And I don't mean like water for Africa, which is great, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like Chip Bergh and I got on this thing about talking about whether or not you should wash your pants.
You didn't wash your Levi's for 8 months?
I did not wash my Levi's for 8 months. And
Were you wearing them when you were with Chip?
Yes. And they had birthday cake stains on them. They were slightly yellowed.
Actually, Chip was the guy who inspired that, right?
He was wearing jeans that were 2 years unwashed. And, as I said at the end of the thing, I said, I've interviewed a lot of CEOs, but never have we looked at each other's butts so much. I was checking him for stains. Oh, I don't know. What you got?
What's the theory?
Less water.
Oh,
And
it's good for the environment.
It's good for the environment, and the jeans they keep their...
They're stiff. You don't have to fold them anymore.
keep-
You just stand them up in the corner.
They have personality.
Yeah, they got personality.
The lines that they could get in there, they're lines that mimic your body.
Right.
And the real, what do they
Do
call
they feel better?
Yeah, I don't know. They're not,
Feel crusty.
I don't. They don't feel gross, but I definitely.
They
8 months
don't
was-
wash lederhosen. In fact, I was taught by a fellow, a German fellow, that you wipe your butter knife on your lederhosen. You want to condition those leather
I
pants.
see. I didn't realize.
You can't wash leather.
No. Yeah. So these are the things I've been having fun doing. But
That's great.
I think it's
Do you
good.
play sport? Any sport?
I'm paddleboarding a lot. I've been trying to get Lisa to go out paddleboarding
Stand up.
with me. Stand up. Yeah. And
Is that
surfing.
hard? You're like on a surfboard, and but you're standing up. Is that hard? A lot of balance?
Once you're out, it's fine. It's fun to surf on them. That's hard for me. I've been going to Pacifica and getting absolutely killed, but it's fun.
There's people out here in the Petaluma River that do yoga on their paddle boards.
Oh yeah, you gotta have pretty good.
Boy, that's good.
Yeah.
Warrior pose on the thing going like this.
Right.
So
okay,
that's your thing?
I have one question for you that I want
Yeah.
your advice on. So my kids are 7. Okay.
Oh, that's the
Right?
best age, by the way. Enjoy them. There is no better age because they're talking to you, but their minds are a little mushy still.
Yes. So they think you're cool.
Yeah. Well, first of all, they love you still.
Yeah.
They know they're still dependent, so they don't give you lip.
Over the pantheon of your experience in technology and as a parent, and kids and gadgets and iPads, do you have an overarching philosophy or theory about how much access is the right amount of access for kids and gadgets?
What's interesting is that this is moving so fast now that even my experience as a parent of now kids, and Henry is almost 21, Abby's 23. That my experience when they were is completely different. What is available to a 7-year-old today is absolutely completely different, as you know, from 13 years ago.
Right.
So even the 2-year difference between them, Abby was really into instant messengering while she was doing her homework, listening to music. For Henry, it was video chat. It changed even every year. So I don't know if I have a good advice, because the world that your kids are growing up in is very different now, and is always on.
Right.
For instance, do they watch TV at all? Probably not. Or they watch television?
I actually think that TV is easier for them to handle their brains
Than YouTube?
than gadgets.
Well, maybe, but do they watch YouTube?
No.
They're not old enough yet. in 3 years, well, so who knows what'll happen in 3 years? They might have a helmet. But in 3 years, they'll be, once they get to about 11, YouTube is the only video they watch.
Right.
At least now. We have a 12-year-old, at least his son is 12,
right.
and he is always on a screen of some kind.
Right.
So, and I don't, I think personally it depends on the kid. It also depends, I don't know. I really don't know.
Thank you for saying that.
I have no answer to you.
I feel the same way. Like,
it's a mystery.
People come to me, they're like, you have this degree in learning and technology. And I say, I don't.
So what do your kids do now? What do they do?
Well, the problem, I think what you said that really resonates with me is it depends on the kid. So with my son, the game theory of all the apps makes him want more. It's like it lights up the gambling.
That worries me.
It lights
that
up
really
the gambling
worries me.
parts of his brain.
As people who design games have gotten smarter about psychology, they now are really quite addictive. And I do worry about that. I mean, I think that these kids are exposed to crack.
That's how I feel with him. And the thing is he's conditioning us because we get bad behavior afterwards, or if we set limits. So in a way, we've just said no. Whereas with TV, there's a story arc and an end.
Yeah.
And there's no end in a lot of the games that he wants to play.
There is
Even
no
the
end.
educational games.
No, there's no end.
Because he is not really responding well, we just kind of put the kibosh on
Yeah,
it.
that's probably what you have to do.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly it. You have to look at each kid and give them what's appropriate. And you have a great laboratory because you have twins.
Man.
So they're the same exact age.
Same exposure to the same stimuli and totally different reaction. And, I don't know.
I always thought, and I tried my darndest, it would be great to get to kind of move the kids from being consumers to creators somehow.
Yeah.
Right? And Abby likes to create, likes to paint and stuff, so she likes to create stuff. Henry's much more of a consumer. But I always thought, gosh, if I could only get them to learn how to code or program or interact with it, make their own things, maybe be makers. And I have had very little success doing that. Now, I think all you can do is expose them to it. You can't make them.
Right.
But if you expose them and you make it fun and you say, look, we need, but they never glommed onto it. And I think that's really an important thing with kids, with this generation, is we've got to teach them to be more than just consumers of content.
Well, that's what's weird is people will say to me, but how can you not let your kids have access to the iPad? They need those tech skills. I'm like, they tap
skills.
and they...
That's not tech skills.
They're not learning to code.
No.
So...
I mean, you can learn to code on the iPad, but really those aren't... Yeah, iPad is a consumer device primarily.
Yeah.
I don't know. Boy, I wish I knew. I thank God my kids are grown up. I don't have to worry about them anymore.
Right.
And they turned out all right.
Yeah,
They're both in college. They're doing well.
Yeah.
They're smart.
I can't believe Henry's almost 21.
I know.
Little guy.
Because we had him on the show when he was about this yay high.
With those Harry
And he
Potter
would
glasses.
hardly talk. That was Abby with the Harry Potter glasses.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They were both so cute.
7 years old. That's about how old they were.
Yeah.
And so this goes fast.
Yeah. No.
So that's the other thing. You're gonna be a grown up soon.
I know.
Or you're gonna have grown ups.
I know. I'm gonna.
And then you get to be a grown up again.
I don't want to think about teenage years.
Oh, that's the nightmare. See, at that point it's too late. You can't really control what they do. You can try.
Right.
But they have all sorts of ways and means of thwarting that.
Yeah.
Becky, you're so great. And what's nice is to see your trajectory and to see you doing something you really love and having fun and being so successful at it. I don't understand how it is that you haven't aged a year. That puzzles me.
True.
You look exactly the same as 17 years ago.
Oh, man. It's hard
You're
to believe.
You're gorgeous, woman.
Well, I haven't woken up on the floor of your living room after a night of lemon drops and debacles.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
17 years, so I'm doing something
I was
right.
not going to bring that up. But now that you mention it, how do you like the Knob Creek these days?
Yeah, I haven't touched it since then. Oh, boy. Oh, my God. That seems a million years ago. And you know what's scary?
What?
I have an equally, if not worse, story of going out with Dvorak. Like...
He's trouble. Because
he's the worst.
He is an instigator.
Oh.
So he's trouble. I am not an instigator.
No. You were a facilitator. You were an enabler.
I'm an enabler.
You were an enabler.
He's an instigator.
Yeah, I mean...
He says, go ahead, press that button, see what happens.
See what happens. And then he also was one of these... He's one of those guys who just... Weird people orbit Dvorak, and strange things happen. It's like an alchemy.
I think he wants it. I've known Dvorak longer than I've known you.
Yeah.
And I still don't understand him at all.
Right.
Not a bit, not a whit. Although I do know when you two are on Twit, that is magic.
That is so much
That's
fun.
when the
I love
magic
that
happens.
man. I love
you
that
and
man.
Dvorak. If I could just do one show for the rest of my life, it'd be you, me, and Dvorak, and we just never turn off just continue on forever.
Oh God, it's his sourness and my innate perkiness that really work well.
Yeah, and he has an eye for a good-looking gal, and he likes to flirt with you.
So
And
funny.
it's just fun.
I love
But you're
him.
right. He does have. I have never figured him out. And I
remember
love John.
And he was doing that thing with Adam Curry.
Still is.
Right. And that was an interesting crew.
Like you, I've tried to hire John for 2 decades, for years, as long as Twit's been alive. You know, our 10th anniversary is in April.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is
10 years we've been doing this.
as we've been talking, I'm just looking around this room and it just.
Well, it ain't GMA, but.
Oh my God, but it's incredible. Are you kidding me? This is what gives me hope because as I said, career crisis, you're a woman, you're aging, you're on television, and you're thinking.
How do you do with that? Do you actually have in your mind a number of years that you'll be able to get away with this? I mean, Andrea Mitchell's still on. Barbara Walters had a great career. You can work forever. Or are they the exceptions?
I think they are exceptions. You know, Jeannie Most is actually my hero at CNN. I love her.
She's great.
She's funny. She's bright.
But they just got rid of Candy Crowley.
I know.
So you must feel the clock ticking.
I do. I definitely do. And at the same time, I say to myself, is it working today? Keep going. Just keep on keeping on.
That's all you can do.
You know, and I think I really would like to coach younger people who are trying to figure out how to find their voice.
But you've always done that, haven't you?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I'd like to do that more formally.
Well, we need you to do that because, and I've said this many times, the only real scarcity in all of this is people.
Yeah.
The talent that can communicate, that can make it interesting, but understands it.
Yeah.
Not just in technology, but in broadcasting. That's the scarcity.
Well, I find this is going to be a gross overgeneralization. It'll probably get me in trouble. But anyone who's innately good at television is usually mentally ill. Because...
It's like being president of the United States.
Pretty much.
You have to be crazy to get there.
Yeah, pretty much. You have to be... Because how can you not have any... what's the word I'm looking for when you're so aware of yourself, self-consciousness?
Yeah, you can't be self-conscious.
In order to stand, I mean, think about the first time you ever heard your own voice on the answering machine.
Well, that's why you're bad for so long. You're self-conscious for the first many years.
Did you ever read that thing Ira Glass wrote about how you get good and how if you are good, you don't like yourself when you start because you're a decent critic?
The thing that got you into this was your perception of what's good and bad, and you hear yourself and you go, oh, and I suck, by the way.
Right. So anyone who's innately good, it's either a fluke, like a total fluke, that they just walk on the first day and they're amazing.
There's no one innately good. Have you met people who just walk on and they're amazing?
I think there are some 17-year-old girls who manage to do this. I mean, like if you watch YouTube, it's incredible.
Well, that is interesting, isn't it? There are people on YouTube who have a remarkable ability to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And so I think that what we're going to see as we live in a more sort of videofied world is that people who have that innate ability are going to practice it younger and younger.
Yeah.
And they're going to develop niche interests and skills that make them experts, and they have the video skills to go with it. And I think that we're going to see video just continue to get better and better and better.
And I initially had high hopes that YouTube would be a great farm team. But the problem is your success on YouTube immediately makes you say, well, I don't need anybody else. I'm on YouTube. I'm a YouTube star. What do I need Twit for? What do I need GMA for? You know, nobody in New York City's ever heard of PewDiePie, but he certainly doesn't need anybody in New York City or Los Angeles.
Right, and it silos you. You become a caricature.
Well, that's what I fear.
Yeah.
Is that these kids are getting sucked into something that has no long-term prospects for them.
I think that you have one note to play because on YouTube, people can go to any different channel and pick a note, pick a note, pick a note.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a diverse human. I mean, that's kind of...
That's a really good point, yeah.
I think that's what's different between broadcasting and narrowcasting.
Right.
And YouTube is so clearly narrowcasting.
That's a very good point, yeah.
That, you know, for those folks to make that transition to becoming broader is a huge leap. And they need a lot of coaching to do that.
Right. Bingo.
Yeah, so I think that could be cool.
So we know who you'll be working for in the next
I think that could be
few
cool.
years.
That could be really fun. But I'm a pretty happy person. I like my life. I miss my friends because I'm busy. But that's why I was so psyched to come up and do this. Any hour talking to you is a joy, and I always learn something. And You're so generous, and I learned something about interviewing every time I talk to you, because you're so yourself. You're the exact same person, on as off.
I just love you, so I don't care. I just love seeing you. It's so nice to see you. You're the greatest, and I'm so glad you're doing so well and that you spent some time with us on a Triangulation.
Yeah, and now I get to go have lunch with your wife.
Oh, and paddleboarding, I hope.
Someday. Maybe not in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm crazy, but not
She
that crazy.
loves you too, and she wants to spend more time. Everybody wants to spend more time with Becky, and Becky has no time for anybody.
I'll have more time when my kids don't want to spend any time with me.
Those kids. I don't really know your kids. You need to bring them around more
I will.
often.
I wanted to bring them up for the New Year's thing, but we were in Tahoe.
That's okay.
That would have been fun. I heard you had a bouncy castle or something.
Yeah,
like
we
craziness.
actually did stuff. We rented the street so we could do stuff.
awesome.
So that we were hoping more kids would come, actually.
That's awesome.
Instead, it was just me.
In the bouncy castle.
Yeah.
I like that. Bouncy castle's good. I like,
Did you
especially-
see my butt tattoo?
I saw your head shaving, but I missed the butt tattoo.
Becky, I don't. For some reason, Lisa said, "Make sure Becky sees your tattoo." As we're getting, I'm not sure why she said that.
I'm giving it an eye in there.
It's only about that big.
Nice.
It's a small.
What's it of?
Twit,
Nice.
of course.
Hey.
What are you
I want to
working
see
on
it.
back
He's
there?
pulling it up.
Don't worry. Oh.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But see, that's the I like that tattoo. It's something you made. It's a part of you.
It is, and so
I like that.
Yeah.
And having Lisa's rock in there is nice too.
Another part of me gone. It was only my left leg. Becky Worley, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's so nice.
We do Triangulation every Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC. Please stop by and watch. Your comments in the chat room are always valuable. You're the third part of the triangle, right? But if you can't watch live, you can always get it on demand. Audio and video available at twit.tv/TRI, youtube.com/triangulation, and of course, wherever you get your podcasts, because we're everywhere. Just search for Triangulation, or better yet, search for Twit. Subscribe to every show, because everybody's got something interesting going on their shows. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Triangulation.